How's everybody doing? Good. Well, again, issues with the computer. What can I say? But it's okay. I'm finally getting the beast under control. So again, I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to deliver the videos in a timely fashion. I really wanted to do that, but the devil is a liar. He is. The devil is a liar. So it's when what can I say? Things do happen, so it has caused a delay. So I really want to apologize for that. But continuing with incompatibility of signs, we are going to go into part 2 of incompatibility of signs of Scorpio and Gemini. And I went into a lot concerning nature and giving a lot of similes and metaphors, and I probably am going to do that again in this part 2, but go more in depth and more in detail about the actual behavioral patterns that both Gemini and Scorpio share in both as a unit, as a couple, but also individually as each other. And when I also explain in part 1, ascribing the elements of mutable air and fixed water to swamps and marshlands and New Orleans, and the marshlands and the swamplands and certain other situations where there are murky waters and there's stagnant conditions. And I went into a description of the Scorpio and the Gemini personality as far as making a collaboration with nature. Nature, because we are created in her dust, we are created from this soil of this planet, which we do not belong to. Remember, the fall of man, we fell here and we got entrapped into material matter. And Jehovah is the God that is the grand architect of the universe, who is the custodian, the warden, the stewardship, if you really want to know. Which is why many people consider Jehovah, or the God of Jehovah, Yahweh, the God of the Jews, to be a demiurge, because he's not the true God. The true God, the Heavenly Father, we have not yet experienced or seen. But the one that is the architect of governing the soul in material matter is, the lunar deity of Jehovah, the God of the Jews. And really the God of all of us, because, Jehovah has many, 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 many names across all races and cultures and religions. So really, he's not just the God of the Jews. He's the God of all of us, as quiet as it's kept. So I have to express that philosophy and dichotomy when I'm talking about Gemini and Scorpio, because both Gemini and Scorpio are signs that symbolize mysteries, occult mysteries, the riddle of the Sphinx, the different sigils and seals of incantations and invocations and evocations and conjurings of the most demonic of spirits and demons and gods that falls on the Gemini. Certain spells and rituals. And the rituals and spells themselves are Scorpio in nature. But the conjurer is Gemini, Virgo, the magician, the magus, the one that casts the circle and wearing red and black, raises up the different demonic energies of this pentagram that you see me wearing, which has the Hebrew symbols and names of Yahweh and other angelic and also demonic entities. So understand that Gemini and Scorpio are not that much different. Either you are talking about the elevated Scorpio, Gemini, or even the ones that are still functioning from the animal nature. It still applies to both kinds. So, how do you deal with someone who is a Scorpio and a Gemini? Both signs are full of so much. There's such polar opposites, but at the same time, they're not that much different. And then, of course, you have to deal with the fact that you have a Scorpio woman and a Gemini and a Gemini man, or a Gemini woman and a Scorpio man. Those are different dichotomies that require even a different video, because they're that much different and polar opposites of each other. But one thing that we can say is that, once again, going back to nature, going back to Mother Nature, because all of us are part of the dust that is our planet. And even though we don't belong here, and because of the fall of man, we were placed here, we don't belong here. I mean, I hope you understand that this is real. We don't belong here. But part of, it's almost like the planet Earth is Alcatraz. And we're here, a kind of prison planet, where we have to go through sufferings and pain and blah, 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 so that we can evolve as a human species and transcend the animal nature of us into and transcend towards the journey to become gods ourselves, become avatars of the future. I really do believe that that is the course that mankind is heading. However, it's not going to happen overnight. And we still have a lot to go through, because as you can see in our current situation as a human species, we are bombing each other up, exploiting each other up, terrorizing each other up through suicide bombing and the whole nine, and corrupting the planet, through oil spills, the forest fires raging through California, almost destroying the entire state and destroying the trees and vegetation, totally altering the topography of that state. So there's a lot going on with Mother Nature. And so too, like they say, as above, so below. So too, whatever is reflective of nature is also a mirror reflection of how human beings treat each other. We are bombing each other, killing each other, genocide, and we are also destroying the earth. We as a human species have not been here but for so long. And yeah, we have managed to cause a change in our climate, a change in the morphology and topography of our planet, through the constant pollution that we are putting into our planet, and also the wars, the different nuclear weapons being bombarded onto the Earth's soil, destroying parts of the Earth that can no longer grow vegetation. These are scars and assault against Mother Nature. So understand that because we are made of her dust, we are also going to experience the same degeneration that we are causing onto our planet. Because with the dinosaurs having been here 65 million years, They've never once destroyed the topography of our planet. But yeah, we have been here not too long ago, and we have managed to destroy our planet in ways that is irreversible. So have we really transcended our animal nature as a human species? The answer is no. No, we have not. But I tell you what, if we continue as a human species to tread down this path, we are going to become the prey to an even larger predator that's going to teach us a fucking lesson. And best believe that these predators are already here, and they're coming from extraterrestrial origins. Because the way we treat each other as human beings and our animals and fellow species of our planet is so inhumane that it's going to take something outside of our own consciousness, even out of our own experience, to come in and teach us a lesson and humble us. Which is, I like the novel of Lawrence or D. Wells. I believe I messed up the name, but it's Wells, Wells, who wrote the book War of the Worlds. And there's been a movie of it with Tom Cruise. And where man was a predator against man's inhumanity to man. And it took man's rise of compassion towards his fellow human beings through the invasion of an extraterrestrial that was harvesting humans and doing with humans exactly what we were doing to each other. And this is the essence of that movie, War of the World by H.G. Wells, who wrote the book. If we treat each other inhumanely as human beings, guess what? We are going to be treated the same way by an extraterrestrial force in which we will not be able to fight and be able to win and be at total mercy. And only then will we learn the lesson of unity and cohesion and universality and universal brotherhood. I mentioned that not because I went off track, but because this lies at the essence of Scorpio and Gemini. Both Scorpio and Gemini stand for universal and spiritual and occult principles. Gemini from one perspective and Scorpio from another. It really depends for a relationship with a Scorpio and Gemini to work. Much depends on the level of maturity. And I've mentioned it before, it really does. If you deal with someone that is young, preferably both. If they're both young, then it's going to be a bumpy ride. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be a bumpy ride for obvious reasons. When you are young as an individual, you don't know yourself. You're still in a road to self-discovery, which is why the 20s should be a time where you do not commit to a relationship. Listen, fuck any nigga or any bitch you want. That is what you're supposed to be doing in your 20s and having fun, enjoying it. Listen, I enjoy my 20s. Listen. Like Wendy Williams, watery. I enjoy my 20s. I did. I enjoyed it deliciously, and I'm 50 years old, and that's not gonna come back again. I have to be born again in another age and relive what I lived in the 80s growing up, as I did, live it in another century or in another epoch, should I reincarnate even on this planet and enjoy that again. But it only comes once per lifetime. So you got to enjoy it. And Gemini is that type of soul, that type of spirit that wants to enjoy life and just break out of all barriers and jump from box to box, from trap to trap, and just love life. But Gemini makes light of it because, there's so much of life to understand, to grasp, that you're not gonna have um even time to pause and reflect. There's still too much to discover, too much to learn, you know. That is the preoccupation with Gemini, the psychological aspect of Gemini, which is really movement, emotional and also psychological movement. With Scorpio, not at all. I'm not even going to say not so much. Not at all. With Scorpio, he really is very stationary, psychologically stationary, and physically stationary, like the opposite polarity of Scorpio, Taurus, which is also very fixed. It's fixed earth. We're dealing with fixed water, the swamp. Fixed earth will be a mountain or a pasture, rock formations, durability. So understand that when you're dealing with Scorpio and Gemini, you are dealing with polar opposite views of life and even the mysteries of life, the mysteries of nature itself. So understand that it's going to be off the bat intense arguments and debates between Gemini and Scorpio. And this can be positive or negative. This can fuel their intellectual or flex their intellectual muscles and then fuel their passions in the bedroom, which is a good thing, wonderful, good. But because Scorpio doesn't back down from an argument or from a fight, and neither does Gemini, there tends to be a danger of both couples locking horns and not giving in to each other's philosophies and pathos, which can cause a polarization of the couple because of not being able to meet at the minds. One has to dominate the other. And this is true of Gemini and of Scorpio. Gemini likes to believe and wants to believe that he's intelligent and that he don't need or she don't need to follow anybody else's mentality or mental frame of reference of thinking above his own. He's not going to take your level of thinking or your style of thinking above his own. Not a Gemini. They value the way they think, and they have great respect in the way they think, and they're not going to put that aside for your thinking for all the tea in China. Believe that. Gemini is very arrogant that way. They feel that they are the most intelligent, along with Virgo, which are both ruled by Mercury, of the signs of the zodiac. They're the most intelligent. Both Virgo and Gemini share in this arrogance. So they're not going to respect what you have to say. But neither will Scorpio. And the thing is that, Scorpio and Virgo share a mythology. But so does Gemini and Scorpio. Because it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules both of them. So they do share a mythology. The Virgo, which is earth, with Scorpio, which is water, compatible elements, the mythology is more harmonious. the air and water, which is Scorpio and Gemini, the mythology of these two signs is more conflicting than it is harmonious with Virgo and Scorpio. So there is a battle of wills when it comes to Gemini and Scorpio. So it really depends on what you do to transcend these bipolar opposites. So we're going to jump right in, and we are going to go into the compatibility, the incompatibility of signs pertaining to Gemini and Scorpio. Okay? Alrighty. Okay. So yeah, it's it's a lot to cover. I know. The most tumultuous side of Mother Nature is expressed through the destructive behavior of these two combinations of Scorpio and Gemini. A tropical storm, a tropical hurricane, and other destructive forces of nature are expressed through this combination of Scorpio and Gemini. Psychologically speaking, both Gemini and Scorpio will evolve over time as they discover each other, usually over the years. This combination will not get it all together until they get to know each other completely and individually. And this could also take years. It is better of both partners it is better that both partners be older than 30 years old. Then a certain level of maturity can be expected. If the couple is young and unexperienced, this combination can prove challenging, difficult, and dangerously sloppy. It can. Both partners must first know each other completely before they embark onto a relationship. Trust will be the key issue here. Both Scorpio and Gemini will insist in maintaining a secret self, which both refuse to share upon each other. Both signs are reluctant in sharing their dark side to each other. Both signs are reluctant to share depth and profundity, but each for different reasons than the other. Okay? Neither Gemini nor Scorpio want to share power and control. Both operate from ulterior motives. Scorpio insists on controlling the acts of Gemini, and Gemini dismisses the antics and manipulative tactics of Scorpio. Scorpio cannot control Gemini or influence her mind because she regards only her own mind and way of thinking and nobody else's. Gemini will not regard the feelings of Scorpio, and neither will Scorpio either. Okay, Scorpio is secretive, but also is Gemini. Okay, remember there are two. There are two Gemini, right? Gemini is the twins. On a positive side, Gemini, if she stands still enough, can learn a great deal from Scorpio. Oh, yes, she can. Scorpio behavior and psychology is different from that of Gemini. Scorpio is private and intense. Gemini is fair-weathered and light. Scorpio is a bit of a loner, but Gemini is the opposite. She loves to socialize, be surrounded by people in company. In love, Scorpio wants couples time together, okay? Usually all the time, okay? Gemini, on the other hand, likes to divide her time between her man and that of her friends. That's important for Gemini. For this relationship to work, both Scorpio and Gemini should have outside interests. Oh no, they do. I try outside interests, and we're gonna run overtime. outside interests which require them to spend time apart. And when they reunite, because after all, absence does make the heart go fonder, um, both should develop outside interests and should discover each other together. Okay, this adds passion and admiration for both involved. See, it does, because if you're both involved in separate interests, then it actually can work, because then you can share, when you guys get together, different variable interests than to just be into each other. So for this relationship to work, there needs to be not just common interests, but also interests outside of the couple to keep them apart, so that they can then love and find each other when they reunite. Scorpio's attraction to Gemini is indeed very flattering to Gemini. She appreciates how can I put it, a holler from Scorpio, but is not quite sure that she can satisfy Scorpio's unquenching need for sex and intensity. And Scorpio does require sex and intensity. And Gemini sometimes doesn't want to be, bothered with that kind of intensity. She's kind of very flighty, even in sex. You don't want to tear the bitch out or tire the bitch out. Scorpio will demand that Gemini take their relationship seriously and offer some depth over superficiality, which Gemini is all but too comfortable being rather light and flighty and superficial. And that's not gonna work with with Scorpio over time. Scorpio will demand more emotional involvement from Gemini, and Gemini is not comfortable with that kind of intensity or depth. It frightens her. It does. Scorpio is jealous and possessive, and Gemini is flirtatious, and that can be a bomb. How does it work? Both of them have to figure it out. And unfortunately, I am done with this segment of Scorpio and Gemini.